everybody.
Hey, y'all. Hey, we're glad you're here. We're glad you're here. We're glad you're here. We're glad you're here.
Hey.
Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday.
Maybe Monday.
Maybe Monday.
Whatever day.
Whatever day.
We're glad you're here.
We're glad you're here.
Hey, we're glad you're here. 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 And we're live. We're live. Hey, hey, we're live. Hey, we're live. Hey, hey, we're live. Text somebody and press the share. Hey, we're live. Text somebody and press the share. Hey, we're live. Text somebody and press the share. Hey, we're live. We're live. We're live. Hey, hey, we're live.
Hey everybody, welcome to God's Got Jokes TV. We are The Gates. I'm Jamal.
And I'm Portia.
And like I said, we're The Gates. If you're watching on YouTube, please make sure that you press that subscribe button and press that like. Leave us a comment.
A kind comment,
please. And if you're watching on Facebook or however you're watching, press that like, press that share, tell a friend and tell a friend and tell a friend that we're live and watch right now.
Yes, and if you're listening on the podcast, we're so glad that you're here with us as well. You can find us at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, however you get your podcasts. You can find us at God's Got Jokes TV, the podcast.
Yay.
And so we've got a great show for y'all today. And so we're going to tell y'all all about our Valentine's Day, what we actually ended up doing. We're going to, breeze on by and mention that it's the Lenten season. We've got some updates and announcements we want to share there. And, we've got some other things like in the headlines. Of course, we're going to tell you what we're watching.
Yep.
And it's still Black History Month, so there's so much to talk about. There's so much to keep going with. And so let's keep that same energy, y'all. So, yeah, here we are. And, so let's talk about our Valentine's Day, Jamal.
Yeah, very
what
special edition of Gates on Dates. Valentine's Day edition.
Gates on
we
Dates.
hinted at it last week. I told y'all I was going to take Portia on an experience, and I did not disappoint. The experience was we went axe throwing.
Yes, we did. We went axe throwing for the very first time, something that neither one of us have ever done. And it was so much fun. I was so surprised. I was like, axe throwing. And I really enjoyed myself. And so I actually hit a bullseye a couple times.
Actually.
You know what, Jamal? I didn't ask you to interrupt. I'm just kidding. Ask me no more questions. I'm just kidding. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. That's a really good one, Jamal. I appreciate that. That's funny. So we went axe throwing, as we mentioned. I hit the bullseye a couple of times. So did Jamal. I mean, we also hit some misses as well. And we threw the hatchet and we threw the axe and we did one-handed and two-handed, and that thing was so much fun. What about you, Jamal?
Yeah, it was really fun. If it's a really great date idea, take your spouse or your significant other axe throwing. If nothing, it's really fun, and if nothing else, it's a great way to release all that tension and frustration. Instead of getting mad at each other, get mad at the target.
I know that's correct.
You didn't wash dishes.
Or even go with a group of friends, not in a big group because, hashtag COVID. But, if you are in a pod, your family pod, y'all go together. If everybody's grown, or everybody's like, over 16, why not? Like, go do it. It's a great fun time. And, I would love to do it again in the future. And so I had a great time. And what we did as well is we also played a game where we had to accumulate points, and every part of the target was a number of points, and whoever got first to 21 would win. And of course, I won, and Jamal had to do a chore, and we kept it at that. And so we put some stakes up on the line.
Yeah, it keeps it fun, putting stakes on the line, especially when you're cohabitating with your significant other. Putting stakes on the line keeps things fun. If there's a chore that another person doesn't normally do and they lose, get some relief.
It's good family, good family fun, friendly competition. Jamal does not like to lose.
I don't.
No. And so it was cool. But you know what? That's some Gates on Dates ideas for your next date night. Your next fun, safe, fun, what do you call it? Socially distanced.
Socially distanced.
Hello, somebody. So yeah, do something fun. Go throw some axes, and all that good
Throw
stuff.
some axes, but not at your exes.
Oh my.
I'm sorry.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, Jamal, we've got to talk about what's in the headlines. And so we want to switch to this segment called In the Headlines. And so if you don't know what's in the headlines right now, which I hope everyone does know, it's about the state of Texas.
Yeah.
So the state of Texas right now has, froze over, literally. Texas is not a place where it snows.
At all.
Like, this is not a thing for them. And the infrastructure of the state of Texas, it wasn't built to handle this global warming. Like, let's name that, right? We are looking at global warming, okay? And for Texas, my heart goes out to the people of Texas and, the great state of Texas, the people who are living in these harsh conditions of their homes, literally losing things in their homes. Like pipes are bursting, people's houses are flooding, people don't have any heat or electricity, people literally are just in a space where it's so difficult. Every hotel is booked up. People are having a really difficult time. So our hearts and prayers are with the people in Texas. But it's not enough to just pray. I mean, prayer helps and prayer works. But let's also, if we can, let's also dig a little deeper and let's, try to give to some of these mutual aid places as well. So mutual aid in Houston, mutual aid San Antonio, mutual aid Dallas, mutual aid Fort Worth. So there's different areas. So go and look up the mutual aid that are helping citizens be able to just, get what they need in this time. And so it's really, really disgusting to see how the government is treating the situation. We've seen Ted Cruz on a cruise. I'm just kidding. But Ted Cruz, where was he at? In Mexico somewhere.
He crossed the border. He didn't want people to cross in the other direction. Seeking refuge, he didn't want people to seek refuge in the other direction. So
how'd that work? So yeah, all of the responses of not every mayor, but some of the responses of some of the mayors in the local government have been ridiculous. And so if you are in Texas, we send our thoughts and prayers to you, whether you're in San Antonio, Austin, Dallas, Fort Worth, whatever part of Texas you are in our prayers. And, if you're watching or listening to this, please make sure you donate or give where you can into the mutual aid funds. And, if you don't have it to give, financially, send somebody a text, at some point they'll get it, at some point people will see these things and they will know that somebody somewhere was sending them some love and appreciating them and just thinking about them. It does make a difference. And speaking of showing some love, it's the Lenten season. And so we want to shout out our people over at the Double Love Experience, Pastors Gabby and Andrew Wilkes. Hey, so for the next 40 days over the course of the Lenten season, they are hosting a prayer line. And so we want to plug their prayer line because I actually will be praying every Thursday with them on Zoom at 7 a.m. every morning during the weekday. You can go over to Double Love Experience. You can get your prayer in the morning from 7 to 7:15. And if you miss it, it's all good because they will be plugging it on their podcast, the Show Some Love podcast. So if you're on Apple, if you listen to us on Spotify, the Show Some Love podcast is available and you can go listen to some of these Lenten prayers. And so we can, be in this fast and in this Lenten season together. So shameless plug for the Show Some Love, podcast and the Show Some Love over to the Double Love Experience. Come on, y'all. Let's fast and pray. It's Lent. What are you doing for Lent? Are you doing anything for Lent?
I don't know.
You know what, baby? It's all right. You know what? It's okay.
I feel like we fasted all 2020. So I don't know.
We definitely
I don't
prayed.
know what's left to fast from.
I know that's correct. Let me tell you something. We did do, however, we did do Ash Wednesday in our house. As y'all know, I'm
That
clergy.
was pretty cool.
Yeah, and so I actually took I actually collected some of the burnt ashes from one of my smudge sticks that I have for sage. And so I took the burnt ashes, and I mixed it with some of my oil that is anointed and blessed. Hallelujah. That I use when I was anointing people back, in local church. And so I just mixed it together because I know the ritual of making the ashes for Ash Wednesday, but I didn't have any palms, so I used what I had, and that was sage. So I just collected some of the ashes over the last couple of weeks, and I used that to make our ashes. And so we had ashes for Ash Wednesday. I don't really have anything that I'm necessarily giving up, but I'm thinking about what are the ways that I can show up better for my community? What are ways that we can show up better for the collective? What are some ways that I can, that we really can just show up better as human beings who love God and love God's people? That's really what I'm at.
Yeah. I gave it some thought as you were speaking. And yeah, I don't know if I'm fasting from anything specifically, but I think this Lenten season, there's a lot of things that I'm releasing from myself.
Ooh.
Yeah, we've done a lot of self-work over the last year.
Wow.
We all have as a community. And I feel like letting go of the things that don't serve you anymore, that you've been holding on to. It's not easy to let go of those things, but in the season of, hey, I'm staying away from stuff, it's like, okay, let's try to stay away so that we can release it and let it go for good.
Releasing. Yeah. Lent is really what you decide to make it. And it's your practice. It's a personal time between you and God. And what you decide to do for Lent is really your business.
Yeah.
And so this is it's a season of consecration. It's a season of reminding ourselves what the mission is ultimately. It's a time of preparation for ministry. It's a time of preparation to engage public. So this is a season of preparation. And so, yeah, that is the Holy Lenten season. We will talk more about Lent as time goes on. But, I got one more thing to say.
Okay.
In our headlines.
Okay.
Back in November, we voted for Biden. He won the election, but now we is mad.
Why we
he's
mad?
Not making our satisfaction.
Why?
Because he's not forgiving the student loans by $50K. Joe Biden, get on it today. We need you to erase $50K. Actually, you just need to erase everything. Full stop. But $50K or not, I don't care if people got $100K. We need everybody's student loans to be erased. So in the headlines on this week, we realized that the prez, Joey B, and his aviators decided that they are not going to be deleting $50K of our student loans because he says that he don't got the power. Say, what? I'm just like, wait a minute. Hold up. How in the world do you, leader of the free world, not have the power to get rid of student loans? Child.
We don't get it.
I don't get it. I don't understand. I'm really, really confused. So I am like, you don't got the power. You have an entire executive order piece of paper and pen that you can write with letterhead.
You are the leader of the executive branch.
See, maybe what it is he was so used to, I felt convicted. What I'm about to say. Maybe he's so used to being in the second seat that now he's been in the first seat. He forgets what kind of power he has. I'm preaching to myself. I have been so used to being in the second seat that now I'm in the first seat in my own life that I still have second chair mentality, but I need to realize that I am the one in the front. What?
That makes sense. That makes
what?
Sense. Growing up the younger sibling, I got so used to playing at player 2 that when I finally got to be player 1,
it's called Ready Player One for a reason.
Right. That's what it is.
What? Oh, I'm helping myself. I'm over here talking about Joey B. I need to be talking about Portia D. Okay, now wait a second. I'm over here talking about what Joseph's talking about. He ain't got the power to do. I need to take a look at what I got the power to do.
Okay.
So, How long have we have been in our lives in places and spaces where we have been number two, that when the position of number one comes around, we don't fully step into it. We just assume that we don't have the power. My Lord today. I'm just saying, sometimes we have the power and we don't realize the power that we possess to liberate people if we just be able to see what God sees for us. Joseph Biden is in the position to do this, to literally liberate people, because the people have given him the trust that you will make the right decision. Now, that doesn't mean that he won't get rid of some of the student loans. But when we really think about the new slaveocracy of student loanership, which means we owe somebody. And yes, we're thankful, for the loan pause and the non-interest allocation, racketation, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're grateful that stuff is on pause. But here's the thing. Liberation means erasure of student loans altogether. And as if it just never happened. And so 10K is not enough, right? He said, I can do 10K, right? A part of me, like, old mentality is like, well, maybe we should just be grateful that he's doing something because everybody else didn't do nothing. We should be just grateful for, if he decides to do 10K. No, I should not be just grateful for just getting a piece.
Right.
When we deserve the whole. We make this country run. What you mean you don't want to get rid of the debts that we done accrued, huh? What? No. We got to do better. We absolutely have to do better than that. And, I know this was, I know we supposed to be moving to another segment, but this is a real thing,
No, it is.
Because there's so many people who have federal loans, but then there's also people who have private loans. So, for instance, Jamal has private loans. So even if the federal government decides to erase all the loans, which I have federal loans, Jamal and other people like Jamal who have private loans, those loans don't go away.
Nope.
And some people have a combination of federal and private loans.
Yep.
And so what we need to understand is that student loans is something that's hindering us and affecting us as a nation across the board. And if we want to boost the economy, we really need to follow the lead of Chuck Schumer and Liz Warren to really think about what we're doing. And so I just really want to put that on the table. I know I'm really passionate about the erasure of student loans, that this is something that really matters to me.
No,
and not just for myself, but just for the legacy of those coming up behind us.
You're absolutely correct. It's like, why settle for only 10? Like, 10K is good if someone if you owe like 11K in student loans and forgiven 10K is forgiven. It's like, okay, I just got to pay that last 1,000. But like for the person who owes like 50 to 100K in student loans, and then you only get 10K, or let's say even if you owe like 20K and you only get 10K forgiven, you still have 10K left, and that's like if we're in a pandemic right now, we're giving out vaccines. The vaccine takes 2 shots. That's like the government saying, oh, we're only going to approve 1 shot. And then you got to come up with something to get the other half of the vaccine.
And here's the thing. There are people who have student loans. We got an education thinking that we were going to get our way to freedom, only to realize that we found ourselves back in shackles. But that's a whole nother conversation. I mean, it's on this conversation. But the point that I'm trying to make is we tried so hard to make a life for our families, make a life for our legacies, and to have these student loans. People literally can't buy houses like they want to, or do the things that enjoy life like they want to because they have loans. And some people literally have hundreds of thousands of dollars in student debt. Like, people have a whole house in student loans that they will never live in.
Right. Mansions worth of student loans.
And can't live in it. Something that they will never get to live in, but will literally use their entire career to pay back a debt so they can get the career in the first place, but never get to enjoy the fruits of the labor. My God, today. You know what? I'm about to say that's that on that. because we can be on this topic all day.
I know that's right.
So we're going to talk about now what we're watching. Okay, so we're going to transition to what we're watching. And we actually watched three major things. We're going to breeze past one because and it should come with a trigger warning. Really, Malcolm and Marie. So many of us thought it was going to be this love story. We didn't watch it over V-Day weekend. We actually watched it about a week and a half ago. But we didn't really mention that we watched it here. I will say the acting is brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
Acting is
Zendaya
brilliant.
and
John David Washington.
Yes, they did their thing. It was the movie is very dialogue heavy, so if dialogue is not your thing, try it.
It should have been a play, if you ask me. I would have loved to have seen it on stage, Broadway. Hopefully they come back. But I would have loved to seen it in the theater, if it would have been done on stage. And I will say, I think the acting was brilliant.
Yeah.
People were mad about Zendaya being with an older man in the film, but I'm like, her character is literally like almost her age.
Right.
But, people will have their opinions.
I think they just got used to Zendaya playing like teenage characters. Like she's still
Casey undercover.
Right. No, even in the Spider-Man movies, she's still in high school. So,
true.
So they
True.
they just never perceived her as someone who's grown up, even though she's a whole grown person.
That's true. I will say this, cinematography was good. It needs to come with a trigger warning. There was a lot of...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of verbal things that were
A lot
said.
of verbal abuse.
Yeah.
And manipulation. I will say that. And if anyone's been in that kind of relationship or situation, it can be incredibly triggering. So it needs to come with a trigger warning. But that's on Netflix. And I say, hey, if you've got time, watch it. But I will also just say, if you've been in relationships that can be kind of like, that were verbally abusive or just abuse of any kind, it should just come with a trigger warning. But something we watched over on HBO Max, which I found to be quite incredible.
Riveting.
Yes. And it is Judas and the Black Messiah.
Yes. It's the story of it's actually not a story about Fred Hampton, but Fred Hampton is a very strong figure, and it's about the man who set up Fred Hampton, who was working with the FBI and set up the Black Panther movement.
Yep, William O'Neill. So it's all about how it tells a story from the perspective of William O'Neill, who really he set him up. He set him up because William O'Neill was trying to save himself, because William O'Neill was a very interesting person and had a very interesting criminal history. And so he decided to take a plea deal and a plea bargain, and not a plea deal, but
he took a deal.
He took a deal, yes. And so he took a deal to sell out Fred Hampton and infiltrated the Black Panther Party, and literally worked his way up into the party to get close to Fred, and then eventually, the FBI plotted his assassination. They plotted
conspired it.
They did conspire it. And so, very sad story, but a very important piece of film and a very important piece of history.
Yes.
Lakeith Stanfield's in it, and David Kaluuya is in it. And there are other wonderful, brilliant actors in it. It was well done, quite well done. I recommend everyone to see Judas and the Black Messiah, and to understand the story of Fred Hampton and the Black Panther Party movement in Chicago. And of course, we know the Black Panther Party was a national organization, but specifically the Chicago chapter, as what's happening with Fred Hampton at 21 years old. 21 years old.
And like you said, it's important to watch this movie to understand the Black Panther movement, especially seeing how the FBI was government officials were painting the Black Panther movement.
Yeah.
Especially back in those days. And now that history has kind of settled, and we can actually tell the real story of what the Black Panthers actually represented and why they were so militant, and but what the other good things that they were doing when they weren't being portrayed as this super hyper militant organization.
Right. The party specifically did a lot of things for the community and was very community driven about protecting the community, embracing community, loving on community, providing for the community, free healthcare programs, feeding. We all, most of us should know anyway about the free breakfast program that was funded and sponsored by the Black Panther Party, and to really understand politically what was happening with them, as political leaders. And so and being very critical as a party as to what is happening within the nation. And so I suggest everyone, go watch that. And in addition to that, we also watched, what did we watch, Jamal?
We watched the Black Church documentary on PBS.
Right. It was produced and it was the project was led by the doctor, Henry Louis Gates. No relation.
No relation.
But, actually, you never know. We should try to get on his show one day. Listen, come here. If one of y'all got the hookup with Henry Louis Gates, help us figure out some of this family lineages. Yeah.
Right.
Hook us up. Because we're the Gates, right? We are the Gates. But we don't really know a lot about the Gates family, the family name of the Gates, even though we are the Gates. Mm-hmm. But, we want to know more about the Gates family.
I'm doing some digging, but if you know something.
Holla at a player. Player number 1 and 2. Or player 1. Player 1. We both player 1.
Yep.
Cool. So everybody, go check out on PBS. It's free. The PBS app is free. So there's no reason why we can't enjoy this unless you don't have an internet connection. I mean, well, there's that. But if you have an internet connection, if you have television, if you have public broadcasting, please go check out Black Church Doc. It's on PBS. I keep saying that, PBS. Go check it out. It's quite, it's well done. And I have said in my critique, I wonder what also it could have been if we were the ones funding the project. If we were the ones who, gave the money for the project to happen. And so, I wonder what else could have been said. There was things that could have been expounded upon. There was things I think we could have heard. You could turn down just a tad.
Just a little bit.
A little bit. But I enjoyed it. Overall, I think it was well done. And it was wonderful to see our Black church history on a TV. And I pray that this sparks more imagination and for more people to tell the story. So the things that were left out or just that didn't make it, I won't say left out, that just didn't make it into the final cut.
Yeah.
Because I believe conversations were had. I would say, let this be an opportunity for you to do your own research and for you to do that documentary.
Hello. Do your research. Learn something.
What'd you learn, baby?
Seeing how the Black, a lot of people on social media say this thing about how church is very Eurocentric.
Yeah. And
it was interesting to me how the roots of Christianity actually come before the European roots.
Well.
So, just watch the documentary, do your own research, learn that. It's very, the roots of Christianity are actually very Afrocentric. And if you actually look at the geography of the places in the Bible, they're actually geographically, it makes sense.
Yeah, and so just the history of the Black church, even in America, about some of the strains and some of the roots, like not strain as in like struggle. Well, I mean, yes, there's struggle, but I'm talking about like the strains of like historical strains, like actual like originating, like or origin, places of origin, like, some of the different African retentions that are through the Black church, with just different pieces of our cultural being showing up into our worship and in our practices. So I think it's quite wonderful. I think everyone should go take a look at it. But that's our show today, y'all.
Yeah.
And so we will see y'all on next week. We hope that you would, continue to subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the videos on YouTube. And so, however you're listening, however you're watching, we look forward to seeing and hearing more from you. So go ahead, send us an email. Go follow us over at God's Got Jokes TV on Instagram. All that good stuff for God's Got Jokes TV everywhere. So go hit us up. And don't forget to follow us individually. I'm at Portionality.
And I'm at Jamal Rich Comedy.
And we love y'all.